With make and do, it's not really about right or wrong. It's more about, do you know what you're saying? Let's explore. We're going to start with the most fundamental difference. Of course, there are many little rules, but this is absolutely essential. Once you understand that, the rest is going to be much easier. The fundamental difference between make and do is the meaning we are trying to create with either of those. And so whenever we are going to go with the verb make, what we are really trying to think about is creation. So we are going to go with the verb create. When we look at do, what we are really trying to say is perform. So we are looking at performance. This is all good, but now how can we get into that concept of creation? How can we interpret it? So the first one we are all familiar with. This is physical elements. We could say that a factory could make a car, or you could make dinner. These are all physical manifestations of your creation. But you see, there is another element of creation which is not as easily defined. And that is reality. So you see, the first one is very easily defined because you could see the physical representation of your creation. Reality, on the other hand, is much more difficult to define because it could be a concept. So let's have a look at two examples. If you're looking at a physical element of, let's say, making dinner, you have a physical representation of your creation right in front of you. You can smell it, you can touch it, you can eat it, you can taste it. There are a lot of sensations which show you that particular physical representation. The reality is much more difficult to define because if you make somebody free, well, what does it actually mean? You see, freedom doesn't have a clearly defined physical representation of itself. And so you see, that's why this second element creates a lot of confusion. With do, it's very different because in order for you to perform anything, you have to have already existing reality. So in a way, it's very much dependent on the reality. If it exists, you can perform within that reality. In this example, you can see that if you do somebody's job, you really are performing something within the reality of that job. If this job doesn't exist, the reality of it doesn't exist. So therefore, you cannot even perform it. Okay, so with that explained and hopefully understood, let's have a look at the examples. We have I make Alice laugh. You have to ask yourself here whether you are talking about a physical element or whether you are talking about that concept, that reality. In our case, it is a reality because you see, you're creating an opportunity. Perhaps you say something that creates a reality in which Alice begins to laugh. That's basically what you are saying over here. When you look at do, things are going to change. Well, first of all, I use possessive s over here for this sentence to make sense. But more importantly, what we are saying over here is that we are performing the laugh. So it doesn't really mean that Alice is laughing. We are not creating any reality. What we are doing is we are performing the way she laughs. You could argue that by performing Alice's laugh or by pretending you are Alice and laughing like her, you could maybe even offend her. So you can see that the interpretation of the two is completely different. So I'm not sure about you, but I certainly do not have the ability to create a tree. But let's say we open a book or watch a film about a place in which magic is everyday thing, it's just something people do. Then you could argue that perhaps a child comes home and says to the parents, "I can't believe my homework." And the parent says, "What? What's the homework?" And the child says, "I have to make a tree." you see, in that particular context, this particular sentence makes perfect sense. Well, let's give it a go.
Hello, I'm a tree.
So now, as I step back, I can say to you, guess what? I did a tree. You see, it's fairly ridiculous, but it's possible. That's the difference between make and do. So before you jump into all the grammar rules, think and ask yourself, okay, what am I trying to say? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and ping for any new videos. Please also leave a comment and let me know if there's any video you'd like to see. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.